This is more than just the story of a single military regiment. It's really the story of our modern world. We're going to trace its incredible 180-year journey, from the age of empires, through the absolute brutality of two world wars, all the way to the birth of new nations. But just think about this for a second. How on earth does a unit that was founded to patrol a desert on camels, how does that unit survive to fight with modern weapons in the 21st century? It sounds kind of impossible, right? Well, that incredible journey of survival and transformation is exactly what we're going to unpack. All right, so let's meet our main character, so to speak. This is the 59th Scinde Rifles. Its story is this remarkable lens that lets us see almost 2 centuries of profound global change. So let's start at the very beginning. So where does a story like this even begin? Well, it's not on the familiar battlefields of Europe. It starts on the rugged, absolutely unforgiving frontier of British India. This is where the regiment's unique character was literally forged in fire. It all started right here, way back in 1843, with the Scinde Camel Corps. And yeah, you heard that right, camels. Forget your typical infantry. This was a super specialized force created for one very specific purpose, to try and tame the volatile Scinde frontier. I mean, you really couldn't ask for a more unique beginning. Okay, so fast forward just a decade, and the unit is already evolving. It becomes part of the Punjab Irregular Force, or PIF for short. And this is where they picked up a legendary nickname that would stick with them forever, the Piffers. They were an elite force policing the super dangerous Punjab frontier, and they proved their mettle right away, seeing major action during the Indian Mutiny of 1857. But a force this tough wasn't going to stay on the frontier forever. The 20th century was about to pull them into the crucible of global conflict, and it's here, on the world stage, that the Piffers would earn a worldwide reputation. And then came 1914. The entire world explodes into war, and the 59th Scinde Rifles get the call. They're sent to the Western Front in Europe. Just imagine, for men who were used to the wide open spaces of the Indian frontier, the muddy, bloody trenches of France and Belgium must have been a vision of hell. And they were thrown right into the thick of it. No warm-up. Names like Givenchy, Neuve-Chapelle, Ypres, and Loos, these are some of the most brutal and costly engagements of the entire war. But their trial by fire didn't just end in Europe. They were later shipped out to Mesopotamia, proving their versatility and endurance on the Tigris front. It was in the middle of all this chaos that their incredible courage was recognized at the highest possible level. During the Battle of Givenchy, a Lieutenant William Bruce earned the Victoria Cross. That's the highest reward for valor in the British Empire for his actions. But a regiment's history is never just one thing, is it? It's not all heroism. It also contains a dark and deeply controversial chapter. In 1919, soldiers from the 59th were part of the command that fired on a crowd of unarmed civilians at Jallianwala Bagh in Amritsar. It's a brutal and undeniable stain on their record. And this is where history gets really complicated and honestly kind of strange. Because despite the infamy of Amritsar, the regiment's overall battlefield conduct during the Great War was still seen as exceptional. So in 1921, just 2 years after the massacre, the unit was granted the prestigious title of Royal. A stark contradiction, for sure. So when the world went to war for a second time in 1939, you can bet the battalion was called up again to serve across the globe. Their campaign in World War II was just vast. It stretched all the way from North Africa and the Middle East right back into the heart of Europe. And once again, their reputation for unbelievable valor just continued to grow. In Italy in 1945, during some fierce fighting at the Battle of the Senio River, a sepoy named Ali Haider earned the regiment its second Victoria Cross, cementing its legacy as one of the most decorated units out there. But after the dust settled from 2 world wars, the world itself was a different place. The age of empires was ending. And for this regiment, this was going to be the biggest, most profound transformation in its entire history. You can almost track their entire story just by looking at how their name changed over the years. It tells you everything. They go from a specialized Camel Corps to being part of a larger frontier force, then they earn that royal title for their service, and later get merged into an even bigger regiment. Each name change is a snapshot of its changing role in the British Indian Army. And then, 1947, the Partition of India. This was the earthquake. After serving the British Crown for over 100 years, the regiment was allocated to the army of a brand new nation, Pakistan. In what must have felt like an instant, its allegiance, its flag, its whole purpose was completely transformed. And you really can't overstate how massive this change was. For decades, it had been an imperial force. It united men of different faiths, Sikhs, Pathans, Dogras, all of them serving under the British flag. Now, overnight, it had a new identity as a national regiment of Pakistan, and it would soon be fighting wars against its new neighbor, India, where many of its soldiers' former comrades in arms now served. So, what happened to them? What becomes of a historic unit like this in the modern world? Well, the story was far from over. The PIFR's legacy is still going strong today.
Yeah, there was definitely no quiet retirement. The regiment was in action almost immediately, fighting in the First Kashmir War in 1948. In 1956, it was officially merged into the new Frontier Force Regiment, and by 1965, it was fighting against India once again at the Battle of Kem Karan. It even picked up a new nickname along the way, Garber.
And that brings us right up to the present day. That direct, unbroken line, stretching all the way back to the Scinde Camel Corps, founded way back in 1843, it's still there. Today, it is the 1st Battalion of the Frontier Force Regiment in the modern Pakistan Army. So you go from soldiers riding camels on an imperial frontier to a mechanized battalion in a modern national army. The story of this one regiment is an incredible story of adaptation and survival through just unimaginable change. And it leaves us with a pretty fascinating question. What can one regiment's endurance teach us about the very nature of identity, loyalty, and history itself?